Well, I'm honored and I'm humbled, and I thank you all for having me here. I am a product of your system and your network. I'm here to share my story, my journey, and I promise you I won't give you slides or I won't give you a video that'll black out. I came from the world of IT. I've sat through more PowerPoint presentations than I can ever count. But I want to say that I think it's really fantastic as a business person to come here and see the dedication in this group. And because I have survived a disease that I was told I wouldn't, it speaks volumes for your organization that they take the time and make the investment to have you come together, share best practices, talk about leadership, and improve upon your process, and by all means putting the patients first, because we are the customer. When you hear those words for the first time, it changes everything in your world. I, like probably most of you, envisioned lung cancer as an old gray-haired man sitting in a corner with a bottle of bad whiskey and a cigarette, and that's how he got lung cancer. Well, I got the gray hair, but I don't have the rest of it. And so then, and I knew nothing about the disease. No one in my family had ever had it. I didn't know anybody that had ever had it. But I found out a lot of things about the disease in the course of my research. I didn't know that it kills more people than the other top 4 cancers combined. I didn't know that it received the lowest amount of funding of any of the cancers, and it's the second deadliest disease in the country today. 1 in 14 people will get lung cancer this year. I didn't know any of this going in, but I found out, and I found out very quickly. Dr. Martins, or Renato as I call him, sat me down at the UW Medical Center and spent about an hour explaining to me exactly what he was going to do, what type of care I was going to receive, what he thought my odds were, and he explained to me, we are going to treat you with an intent to cure, which I looked at him and I said, as opposed to what? One of the big questions people always ask me is, what do you attribute the fact that you're still alive to? And I was at the Fred Hutchinson the Fred Hutchinson Innovation Program here about 6 months ago, and one of the researchers got up there and gave a presentation, and he had a slide of red wine, broccoli, and breastfeeding. And he asked, what do these 3 things all have in common? And everybody drew up a blank. He says, they're cancer inhibitors. And I was so happy about that I decided to fill my wine cellar with red wine, go out and invest in a broccoli farm, and I'm going to just let your imagination roam on the last one. One of the stories that I would like to share with you is a day in Seattle, which transpired when my kids were about 6 and 7 years old. It was one of those beautiful, cloudy winter days where we were going to get dumped on with snow. And it was about 27 degrees that night, and you could see what you're in. Anybody that I'm a native of Seattle, and you know what I'm talking about if you've been around here. And we also know the great thing about Seattle is it takes about a quarter inch of snow for it to come to a complete standstill. Because you can count on going to King 5 News and finding Jim Foreman standing at the base of Queen Anne Hill with his parka and his hat, chirping out, if you don't have to go out, don't. That's the best advice I can give you, Jim Foreman from King 5 News. I got online that night and on the phone, called all my employees, said, don't even attempt to come into the office tomorrow. We're just going to stay at home and work remotely. And we put the kids to bed that night, and the next morning we woke up. Sure enough, we had about 6 inches of beautiful white snow all over the place. And 6 and 7-year-olds, when it snows, you know the excitement that they can bring out. So we were up, and they had their coats on, their breakfast down very, very quickly. Dogs, kids, out the door, sleds in hand. We lived at the bottom of a very small hill, but very steep, and the kids went out there and got going on the hill. And my wife was heading out there with them. I said, I'll be out shortly. I've just got to check email and make sure that everything's okay. Well, about 45 minutes later, my wife sticks her head in the door. She's got snow in her hair, and she looks at me and she says, "Are you coming?" She goes, "The kids are having a blast. You need to get out here. This is really great." I said, "Just a minute. I'll be there shortly. I've just got to get these last few things done." Some more time transpired. She came in. This time her head was in the room, and she was a little bit rosier cheeked, a little more agitated, not quite as friendly. She goes, "Will you please get out from behind there and get out here with the family and be with the kids?" I said, "Just a minute. I will be there just as quickly as I can. I've got a fire to put out." Some more time transpired, but I finally found my way to the closet, put my coat on, and ran outside, only to find exhausted kids, and what had been a pristine, beautiful morning had now turned to rain. And as my wife walked past me with the kids, with me holding the sleds, she just turned over her shoulder and she goes, "You missed it." And I want you to know that I've lived a very full life. I don't have very many regrets of anything that I've done, but that is one moment in time that I wish I could bring back. I stood there with the rain dripping off the end of my nose and sleds in my hand and saying to myself, "It'll snow again. We'll get out there and we'll do it again." But it didn't snow again that year. And the next year, the kids were older, and I had missed it. Now, if you'd asked me and offered me $1 million for what was in those emails and what was so important that morning, I couldn't tell you. I'd come up completely blank. But if I had had cancer that morning, there would not have been one email returned, not one phone call made. I would have been out there with those kids, and I'd have been with them the entire time. And I just want you to leave, I want to leave all of you, no matter what, that live your life as if you have cancer. It's a very, very important message. And I want to thank you again, and I want to thank you on behalf of all the thousands of people that you have treated and the thousands that you are going to continue to treat and help throughout this country from the dedicated work that you do. I'm very thankful. Thank you.